Peace to everybody out there. You have reached the Big House Breakdown, and I'm glad to see so many people in here. My name is DeVic. Welcome to All Things Michigan Football as we break down the game. That's right. The one you know and love, the one you expect to happen this time of year with that blue and that red makes it go crack, crack for all the hardware, all the standings, and all the juice in the Big Ten. You know what I mean? So far within this series, Michigan has owned the Big Ten crown. And, Ohio State people better have their suicide prevention hotlines up because if this one goes the way I suspect it's going to go, there's going to be a lot of intervention needed for them Buck Ducks over there in Zero State. How you doing, everybody? What's going on? And I'm glad for you guys to be in here. We got a lot of folks in here. We are blasting off to 5 Facebook channels. We are blasting off to YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Mob Crush, Trovo Live, D Live Nation. What's going on? Glad you guys can get back in here and rock with us. We are the Big House Breakdown. And all things Michigan football, but especially this week when the game is about to happen. Let us know who you rooting for, the red or the blue. Who's going to get that crown? How's it going to get down? Let us know based on what's going on in your neck of the woods. We want to hear from you. That's the whole point of the show, is to have you get on and tell your tale about that blue, go blue, and them Zero State Buckeyes, right? So we're expecting some company today, and if that doesn't happen, that's cool too. We're going to rock out either way. We got a lot to get to, lots to cover. Let me throw it to an advertiser real quick so we could pay some bills. And then after that, we're going to come back and cook up, chop up. All right, man, let's get to it.
Everything that you thought had meaning. Every hope, dream, or moment of happiness. None of it matters as you lie bleeding out on the battlefield. None of it changes what a speeding rock does to a body. We all die. But does that mean our lives are meaningless? Does that mean that there was no point in our being born? Would you say that of our slain comrades? What about their lives? Were they meaningless? They were not!
Ohio State versus Michigan, two of the greatest powerhouses in the sport, and the greatest rivalry in the sport. But it's not just a rivalry, it's a battle. It's a battle not for the weak, but for the strong. It's a battle that will bring sorrows or happiness. It's a battle that will make your legacy, or tarnish your legacy. The fans don't like each other. The players don't like each other. It's a never-ending loop. So how will you prepare? This is your time to show what you're made of. This is the time to prove yourself for the next 60 minutes. Lives will change. Spirits will be broken.
What does this game come down to? I think whoever is able to maximize their edge wins. Now notice, I didn't say who can kind of make up for their own weakness. I mean, who can lean into their haymaker, their plan A, their fastball, their ace, and have that be the differentiating factor.
Destiny is calling.
They've been engaging in a rivalry that is truly second to none. 20 Hayes, Bo Schembech went off Ohio State before the trip to the Rose Bowl.
Settle down and play football.
We are back. It's the Real on the Real HD network. It's the Big House Breakdown, and we got you on. So we're gonna perform. We're gonna get it on, and we are talking about the game. The Michigan Wolverines versus the Ohio State Buckeyes. And if you want to get involved, the way to get involved is StreamYard.com, W82DQR77MM. And I'm going to put that in the bottom third of the show, or of the preview screen of the show, so that we can know how to get here, know how to locate, and participate if that's what you so choose to do. And we want you to do that, man. This is two bordering states rivalry, 11-0 versus 11-0, both teams undefeated, playing for all the marbles, all the chips, shoving their chips into the middle of the table to get it on for one game that decides pretty much what college football is going to look like moving forward. So here it is. I'll leave that up there so everybody can cue in and get in to win. Get in here. Let us know what you think. We know 20 million people are going to be rocking and watching. And we just want you guys to come through and share a word or two with the BHB crew. Come on, A2. Come on, everybody from Ann Arbor. I know y'all going to be crazy loud tomorrow, crazy into it, crazy with the crazy, beyond crazy. And why will we be crazy with the beyond crazy? And by the way, thank you, Envy, for letting us share your hype video. That thing was crazy. There's a lot of crazies in there. But this is that time of year, man. Everything that will be crazy is crazy because it's Michigan versus Ohio State. Are you red? Are you blue? Suicide hotlines are available for all those in Ohio to partake in. Keep that number close to you, because when the third quarter comes around, things start to look real crazy for Ohio State. I think y'all gonna need that handy. The link for the show down below. Put it in your address bar up above. Show a brother love. Like, share, and subscribe this show. Tell us what you think about it. And without further ado, let's get into our first segment called Ish Talking. Yeah, man. Ish Talking. If there's ever a game to talk ish, it's this one. If there's ever a game to put it on the line and leave them sucker ducks, them Ohio Ducks behind, it's this one. So I got some things on tap. You let me know where you're at. And, you know, what I like to call it is this is the best damn preview show or Michigan show, period. You know why? Because there's a lot of loose. Hey, that's my son telling me what's up. Yeah, man. So there's a lot of loose, you know, telecasting out there, man. These analysts are straight weak. Their analysis is weak. The way they break down the game is weak. And we are here to let you know how it's going to go on the Big House Breakdown. So let's get into Ish Talking, man. This is Michigan versus Zero State, as we like to call them. So here we go, man. Everything on the line, man. Especially for the Michigan seniors, man, that decided to come back one more year. And you know who they are. Blake Corum, Zach Zinter, Trevor Keegan. Chris Jenkins. Man, keep going. CJ Johnson, Roman Wilson. You know, dudes that could have went pro, but decided to come back for one more throw, one more dance to win the big trophy. Now, we already won the Big Ten, so we got to do that again, right? And the way to do it is to beat them Ohio State Buckeyes, right? And then, of course, that becomes our ticket to the FBS playoffs. And what's really, really ill is that this may be, according to the way that the new conference alignments are going, this may be the very last time that we get a Michigan-Ohio State game that means this much in this way, in this position, in this space and place and time. Wow. Because they're going to the super conferences, y'all. They are going super conference on us. They're bringing the California boys over and the West Coast boys. You know what I'm saying? The Lost Boys. They coming through. You know, we're going to get USC and UCLA and Oregon and Washington. And, you know, who knows? Colorado might come through, too. Who knows the way they moving things around in this menagerie of things of sorts. You know what I mean? We don't know what's about to pop off, but we do know that things do and will change. And so they are. You know what I'm saying? So it means that much more, the outcome of this game. And I got some really interesting things to say about it before it's all said and done, about the outcome of this game and why it's going to happen. So see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. Michigan are the FBS villains, right? What's America without naming a villain, right? America has to have a villain, and college football is no exception. So this year, Michigan, with all the political scandal, with all the political intrigue, with all of the, you know, guilty before proven innocent tactics that have been going on in the media and the talk shows with the, you know, with the talking bobbleheads talking their nonsense about it, they still haven't, you know, showed any proof connecting them to, you know, the upper Michigan staff football wise that they have done any wrongdoing. But yet Michigan is guilty in a court of public opinion, and so that his players can have peace of mind. Jim Harbaugh, like Ned Stark from Game of Thrones, fell on the sword. So he's serving a 3-game suspension that's going to end at the end of this game. Now, that doesn't mean he's not going to have his fingerprints on the game. He surely is. He's gonna have his fingerprints on the game plan. I'm sure he's gonna give JJ McCarthy a big old, Papa Bear coaching session to get him, aligned correctly and aligned all straightened out. And so he's 90 degrees, he's straightening up and he's flying right. Right. And also, so Jim Harbaugh will have his stamp on his game. Sharon Moore will be the active coach, but I'm sure with Michigan being in a coaching handicap, all of the coaches will be on overdrive to make sure that this game, we maximize our efforts in this game. We execute the battle plan and the game plan to perfection, and that we get that connection between what we do on the field and what we drew up during the week or during the year for that matter. Because, of course, we got to beat the Ohio drill that we do. What are you doing to beat Michigan State today? That's all over the field house. That's all over Schembechler Hall as they practice and as they prepare. So Jim Harbaugh will have his Ghost of Christmas Past imprint all over this joker coming up. If you want to talk about that, and if you want to talk some ish related to the game, let me put up the banner so we can make it matter. And you guys right there, StreamYard.com, and then you got the call letters to follow, live link for the show. One thing I want to talk about, man, is under pressure. So this game is built on pressure points, pressure cooker. Pressure makes diamonds and pearls, or it busts pipes. So who has the real pressure in this game? Is it real pressure on the side of Michigan, like everybody in the media would like to tell you? Or is the pressure really on Ohio State? And because they're the sexy, popular pick, everybody has a bullseye on Michigan's back. So is it real pressure or faux pressure? And here's what I'm going to say, man. I'm going to say the pressure is squarely on Ohio State. The pressure is squarely on that defensive secondary in Ohio State. I'll just say the defense, period. That pressure is right smack dead in the middle, staring at Ryan Day like a blinking eye. You know what I mean? So let's not mince words. I'm sure the Ohio State Board of Directors, Board of Regents, the brass told them, don't lose this game. And of course, all of the faux media politics, meaning the fake media pressure and politics, as it were, that would revolve around Michigan, because everyone in the Big Ten, the administration, teams, coaches, etc., has created what I would like to call bizarro land in the Big Ten. They colluded to getting Jim Harbaugh suspended without proof of anything, just hearsay and innuendo. And if it comes from enough sources, I guess Tony Petitti, the director of the Big Ten, feels like it is accurate. But I got something now. Connor Stallion is supposed to be the Michigan employee that was responsible for heading up this scandal of cheating, and that he had people go to different games, and he had people to, he had people go to games, and he had people to, supposedly, allegedly tape, the videotapes of the game while and they calling out advanced scouting. And then, of course, the rule and the spirit and the energy and the purpose behind advanced scouting is not the fact that you can't get other teams' signals. It's the fact that each school doesn't have the same set of resources to advance scout. So it was a rule of equity more than a rule of cheating or non-cheating. They know this goes on. But of course, people want their pound of flesh, so away we go. But Connor Stallion was the one that got fired. Then of course he sold his homes, and now he's public enemy number one, and nobody wants to deal with him. But I heard that there was a piece of footage that Connor Stallion got while he was doing his advanced scouting, if you believe that, allegedly, right? And here's that piece of advanced scouting that Connor Stallion got. It goes a little ways back, but it's worth a look. Check it out. Hey, man, shout out to Sports Gym 3 on Instagram. Go there at Sports and Chup, right? You were saying? So this is what Connor Stallion's advanced scouting has uncovered. That Urban Meyer likes them boogers. Hey, Ma, what's for dinner? Go up your nose and pick a winner. Yeah, man, we making light of this thing, man, because it's absolutely hilarious. It's absolutely ridiculous. And thank you, national media, with full pressure for putting a battery in my boys' back, my Michigan Wolverines, so that they can go out there and do what the hell they got to do versus these red people. And I don't mean natives, I mean them Buckeyes, right? So that's it for pressure, man. I think, and will I say one more thing about it? There's gonna be a lot of tight assholes on that field. I mean, the whole defensive secondary for Ohio State is gonna have tight booty holes. That means they're gonna be afraid to laugh, sneeze, cough, talk, anything. They're gonna be afraid to make any mistake in any way that's gonna cause problems for their team to lose. That whole state is in that ass right now. They can't go to a gas station to pump without somebody talking junk about what they're going to do versus them Wolverines. Don't let the national media fool you. That is what's popping right now. I've been to Ohio many, many, many times. They are diehard Ohio State people, and they want to know, especially in Columbus and Cincinnati, some of the largest cities in Ohio, they want to know what is Zero State going to do about this Michigan dominance. And they've been asking them that since last year, this very time. That ain't stopped. That ain't stopped. That Kyle McCord kid, feel sorry for him, man. He's got that pressure like nobody else. If he ain't in his room with his hands shaking right now, if he ain't in the corner wringing his hands or something, you know what I'm saying? They better get that boy some weed or something. They better get him a laxative or something. Because, that's really, really skiddish drawers right there. Skids in the drawers. The pressure is clearly on Ohio State. And why is that? Because we have a 12-man advantage. We're at home. It may snow. And we won the last two contests with 80% of our team returning. And there are some people on Ohio State that never knows what it's like to win in this game. All right, man, let's turn the page, man. Piss poor media game analysis, playing favorites. I'm about the X's and O's. Let's talk about it. So there's a landscape of people talking. Your Colin Cowherd, your Josh Pates, your Joe Klatz, your Foxes, your ESPNs, especially ESPN. Oh my gosh. Why don't y'all dudes just stick to NFL and NBA, man? Leave the college alone. Leave the college to Fox or some other channel that knows what the hell they talking about. Especially you, Stephen A. Especially you, Skip Bayless. Stay out of it, B. Y'all just sound retarded. Anyway, so it's poor generalization about what's going to happen in this game. They sound like last year's announcers just went rinse, wash, repeat. It sounds like they just repeated everything that they said last year, with the exception of Travian Henderson is playing. most people picking Ohio State, even though the chips are stacked in the opposite direction in Michigan favor. People think Marvin Harrison is going to go out there and do something he hasn't done all year. And yeah, I saw him and Emeka Egbuka drop them balls in the Notre Dame game when it mattered. Crucial first downs in the end zone that gave Notre Dame a whole lot of life. Don't think Michigan wasn't looking at that. Don't think that's not in the all 24 for people to see. Don't think people didn't see how Indiana gave y'all crazy first half. Don't think people didn't see how Rutgers gave y'all crazy 3 quarters. Don't think people didn't see how Penn State didn't give y'all a rugged game. And y'all think y'all going to do something with us? Stay tuned for really, really great analysis along the lines of X's and O's, not favorites in popularity. You know what I'm saying? So one of the people that I like when he talks about Michigan is Colin Cowherd. And even though he's super macro and super Mr. Talk Show, he every once in a while he'll come up with something good to say. And this is one of the things he had to say. Ohio State has gotten fancy while Michigan has gotten more physical. Now, fair use on a quote. I think that is so stinking true. So stinking true. And so true to the fact that there's a rumor going out, and here's the rumor. According to Michigan Nation 2, which is supposed to be a reliable source in the Michigan football world, Coach Urban Meyer is working behind the scenes to help Ryan Day out. It's alleged that the part of the game plan that has been developed and crafted for him for the game. Wow, are you kidding? So now, we getting Methuselah back in the game to help us with the X's and O's and the Jimmies and the Joes. Come on, B. Stay in your, is that a conflict of interest for College Game Day and Fox Game Day and Big Noon Kickoff? I mean, come on. Keep in mind, he currently works for Fox, has been able to be on the sidelines many times. And of course, you guys can check out the rest. But what do we think of that? We got folks watching and listening from all over the place. What do y'all think about Ryan Day and Urban Meyer conspiring to help beat Michigan? You know what I mean? He need help with his homework, Ryan Day. Ryan Day need help with his homework. You know what I'm saying? What is going on? Tell me what is popping. Jump in the chat. Let me know where you're at. I'm just trying to pull up something for a second so we can keep pace with the show. But let's get back to it. It's talking. So Paul Media game analysis, man. I hear a whole lot of favorites. I hear a whole lot of people who don't know what they're talking about exclusively. I hear a whole lot of people that just are giving a whole lot of generalities because of the sport. I don't hear many people blasting off, lending their astute knowledge. Yeah, that's okay, bro. Hey, that's all right, man. Hey, thanks for hitting me up on Twitter, Adam at Adam Football Rants, Michigan Football Rants. Thanks for hitting me up, man. Adam from Michigan Football Ranch just hit me up. He won't be able to make it, but we are going to chef and chop this thing up for him for the win for tomorrow. Maybe he will join us for the pregame or the postgame show, and maybe next week's show previewing the Big Ten championship game, right? So let's continue. So there's been Paul Media game analysis, playing favorites, tossing around a whole lot of generalities, not really getting down to the X's and the O's. You know what I mean? And styles make fights. Quick and flashy versus well-built and steady. And of course, we'll go back to that Colin Cowherd quote. Ohio State has gotten fancy, while Michigan has gotten more physical. And you got to believe that there's a super duper census of truth behind that. Going back to that pressure moment, we also got Ohio State's Burke, Denzel Burke, their DB. He is making a lot of foo-foo in the media right now and giving a lot of bulletin board material that might spell the doom for Zero State. And if that wasn't enough motivation for both teams, Buckeyes star corner, I don't know if he's a star. I haven't seen him star and do many things that are star worthy. So you see how they like to upsell, you know what I'm saying? Upsell Ohio State, you know what I'm saying? I'd rather undersell and over deliver. All right, here we go. So Buckeye star corner, Denzel Burke, has now taken things to an even higher level, all extensively guaranteeing a victory over the number 3 Wolverines. I'm very emotional. No shit, Sherlock. That sounds like an off the cuff, not thinking, you know what I'm saying, young and dumb type of quote. And I know when you got back to your meetings, I know Ryan Day got in that culo about it too. I'm trying not to get too out of character, but the game means a lot for us. See, what did I tell you about that pressure? What did I tell you about that pressure? I'm not exaggerating. I'm not lying. I'm telling you what I know. Playing the game for many, many years as a player, Division I player as well, coaching the game for over 20 years. I know what I see, and I know what I know what I see unfolded in front of me. Ohio State is clearly the team with the pressure, right? So, and I'm going to call it now, man. I'm going to call it right now. Yeah, I'm shit talking. That's what this segment is. I'm ish talking. And I think that 18 is due for a bad game. Now, does that mean he's not going to be a performer the entire game? No, because he's too good. He's got to be one of the 5 best wide receivers in the entire country, right? But if not the best, I'll give them that. But every football player is due for a negative game, and sometimes the pressure gets just too much. Where you start getting diarrhea of the mouth, like Denzel Burke. You know what I'm saying? So what I think is going to happen with 18, that they're calling the Heisman candidate, right? And they're also calling him in certain circles, pound for pound, the best player in college football, which I would vehemently disagree with. I think Will Johnson, number 2, on Michigan, the All-American corner, is going to put them cuffs on 18. Just like he did last year. Second half, last year's game, Marvin Harrison Jr. disappeared, courtesy of Will Johnson and others. And why no 12th man advantage? You know, when you talk about Penn State, you talk about the whiteout, you talk about Happy Valley, you talk about all these things, you know, bright ponies and unicorns and My Little Ponies, and Penn State is the greatest. Why is there no 12th man advantage in the media for Michigan Wolverines where the game will take place? Because trust me when I say that the largest stadium in college football that holds the most fans with the light, well, I don't know if you could do the light show during the day. I don't think they'll have the light show, but it will snow. So you will have something like a light show. It's due to snow. There's a good chance it's going to snow. I surely hope so. There is a big 12-man advantage. And you guys will see the Mays out tomorrow at 12 noon. And you will see the 12th man show up and raise the decibels for Kyle McCord so he can look like a Honda Accord with about 300,000 miles. Even though he's a young kid. I don't got nothing against the young kid. You know what I mean? But it's something when you are a top 10 quarterback, when everything is good and you beating up on the cupcakes. But when you got some real pressure in your face, you rank the 100th best quarterback with pressure on you. And so goes that offense. Now, Travion Henderson is going to have a lot of things to say about that. But we played a lot of teams with really good running backs this year, and they didn't determine the outcome of the game. It was the quarterbacks that ultimately made the decision and the deciding factor. And Flip City, recruiting the future. This game is big for both teams because, as been shown before, if you can win the game convincingly and show people that we that big blue bully, we're going to flip a couple Ohio State dudes. Notably, and I hope notably, a corner that we wanted really, really badly. I'm not going to call no names. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to talk about Voldemort because he showed out in that press conference. But there might be some itching and some flipping happening if Michigan, and when Michigan shows out and shows what they're all about. And last but not least, man, Michigan are the kings of the North. And I believe they will walk away from the game with the 1,001st win for their program history. That's right. And now it's Ish talking. Let us know about any of those subjects that you want to tap into, any of those subjects that you feel are important to the game, as it were, or the game as it's going to commence. Let's jump right into matchups. Okay. So we got quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, O-line, D-line, linebackers, defensive backs, and coaches. And we got a lot going on, man. We got a lot happening on this screen in this diagram. And as you can see, Michigan, if you're being real about this, if you're being absolutely honest, you see that Michigan leads in most categories outside of Ohio State. You got Michigan is better at the quarterback position. Now, why do I say that? Because you see on the screen that Cal McCord, number 6, has 22 interceptions of 22 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. And then you see J.J. McCarthy has 21 touchdowns with 4 interceptions. So they're basically even on the interception rate, right? So that you would think he's very, very steady. I'm speaking of Kyle McCord. Kyle McCord is steady when things are going good for Ohio State, when they're rhythm passing, when they're moving that West Coast style rhythm type of offense up and down the field. Yeah, he's a person to be reckoned with. He's a quarterback of note, okay? But when he gets that pressure, you know what I mean? When Baby Hulk, Kenneth Grant, comes up the middle, and Thanos, Mason Graham, comes up that middle, and Chris Jenkins comes up that middle and good, and all of the defensive line backups that we have, and you know what I'm saying, Josiah Stewart and Derek Brooks is coming off that edge, man, he becomes in the ranks of the 100th best quarterbacks in the NFL. College football. He takes a significant drop. So you go from the 10th best quarterback to the 100th best quarterback with pressure on you. I'm giving the edge to JJ. I'm giving the edge to JJ. Not only with that is that JJ can run. He has 3 running touchdowns on the season, a tremendous amount of yards on the ground, maybe about 300 yards on the ground. And his legs will be an integral part of the outcome of this game tomorrow. Now, running back, I gave the edge to Michigan. Why? Because Blake Corum, number 2, has 20 touchdowns and 900 yards. 20 touchdowns on the season. That's a rock right there. That's reliable. So he's almost at 1,000 yards. He's probably going to eclipse it. All he needs is a 100-yard game. I think his 100-yard game is coming during this particular game, and I'll tell you why in a minute. And then of course you got the super duper utility belt running back in Super Don the Don Edwards, number 7, who can run it, catch it, and he's the big strike man. He's the big play man. He's the one that if you give him a crease, he's going to crack it for 50, 60, 80 on you. It's bye-bye, lights out. You replaying that same movie, Denzel Burke. And you know, him and Proctor know what we talking about. You're going to replay that same movie where the Michigan running backs go all in. But the interesting mix into it this year is TreVeyon Henderson will be a factor in the game. Now, what is he like on the season? Of course, he's dealt with a bunch of injuries, but he's got 10 touchdowns on the season, 800 yards, and he's looking like Herschel Walker of old, Herschel Walker-ish, right? He's lowering his shoulder. He's doing things that are not really typical or characteristic of a TreVeyon Henderson type of, season, but that's cool. We welcome the challenge. We've taken on a lot of really good running backs this season and shut them down. You might get a little something first half here and there. You might get some streak runs here and there. But when that third quarter comes and we readjust, it's shut down city. It's shut down city. We turn the lights off on all that, resurgence of a running game. And then, okay, now you got the popular and favorite comparison of most sportscasters and macro media, which is the wide receiver conversation. And everybody always leans the Ohio State way, and I will too. Michigan hasn't produced as much as Ohio State, especially when it comes to that number 18. And number 8 is like one of their wide receivers, but he's a tight end. Number 18, which is Marvin Harrison Jr., has had 62 receptions for 13 touchdowns, 1,093 yards on the season. And then, of course, Stover has 5 touchdowns for 500 yards, a little over 500 yards. But wait, it gets worse. You got to look on the other side of the football. Michigan has that dude that took over the number 1, and he has 37 receptions, 10 touchdowns, and 612 yards on the season, and probably the best catch of the season, where against, I believe it was Nebraska, where he caught the ball over the dude's helmet in the air, mossed him. Now, that's the definition of moss. Now, if I'm looking at both units, and then, of course, I'd be remiss without talking about Colston Loveland, who has been effectively our third down receiver this year. He has 4 touchdowns and 462 yards on 32 pass attempts. And it seems like he's getting more and more and more. Now, I'm going to lean on the Michigan combination of wide receiver and tight ends. And why would I do that? Because Michigan tight ends do so much. They do so much to affect the game. Am I going to think that Stover is going to do what the Michigan tight ends do to affect the game, both from a blocking standpoint, from a receiving standpoint, from a game plan standpoint, and from a passing game standpoint? No, not at all. They don't want that smoke. They're not built like that. They, if anything, Ohio State is going to put an extra lineman in the game and take Stover out if they're going to go some big boy type of package. And then, of course, at that point, it's going to be obvious. And then, of course, the O-line. Now, everybody, from New York to the Bay is making over the fact that Michigan tackles are having a little bit of problems with pass protection right now, notably Barnhart. I don't think that's going to be a tremendous problem because Michigan has a very good offensive line coach. Oh, and he happens to be the offensive coordinator. So guess what? They can scheme and game plan into what they do to maximize the talent of Ladarius Henderson and Colston Barnhart and Trente Jones and Ladarius Hilton Hinton, not Darius Hudson, Miles Hinton, and everybody on that offensive line. But if I'm in a phone booth, if I'm on the goal line and I need a score, and you asking me whose offensive line I'm taking Nugent, I'm taking Keegan, I'm taking Zinter, I'm taking that Joe Mara award-winning Michigan offensive line to get it done. And then, of course, we got the defenses. So our D-line is ridiculous, highlighted by, Kenneth Grant, Mason Graham, Chris Jenkins, McGregor, Brooks, Stewart, and Harrell. So much depth. Good. Rajon Benny. So much depth on that line. And we could just play musical chairs with them dudes. And we ain't missing a beat as far as production is going. Right? So our D-line is definitely better because Williams and I believe the other one is Hamilton. Them dudes take too many chances, man. And they take too many one-sided gaps. You know what I mean? Their 1 and their 2 technique is piss poor. And that's why Rutgers and Wisconsin and all types of teams were able to run on Ohio State right up the gut. And they know it. They know it. Now let's talk about linebackers. So you got Eichenberg and you got Simon. And then you got now there's a rumor that Eichenberg may not play. There's a rumor that Eichenberg may not play, and it has to do with this. Let me show you the caption. I'm not sure how true this is or how much to lend credit to it, but here we go. Ohio State football Ryan Day receives near fist fight with linebacker ahead of Michigan game. Ohio State's football Ryan Day did his best to explain something to linebacker Tommy Eichenberg that he wasn't prepared to hear at the time. So what I'm thinking that is that Tommy Eichenberg will not be playing in the game versus the Michigan Wolverines. Now, if that's the case, oh boy. If that's the case, let me open up the depth chart and but talk about Ohio State's depth, as it were. So I'm going to their depth chart now. And if Eichenberg doesn't play, now this all might be a bunch of cap, right? Because you want Michigan to pay attention to something or get a false motivation about something, or Ryan Day goofy about stuff like this. Like he tried to come at the old Notre Dame coach. You know what I mean? Just he can get goofy about some things. But if Tommy Eichenberg can't play, that means Cody Simon and Steele Chambers will be the 2 inside linebackers for Ohio State. And also Hicks, CJ Hicks. So I guess there'll be some sort of rotation of the 3, right? And what that means is Cody Simon is a good run defender, but he could get his top twisted in pass coverage. And I've seen it versus Penn State. I've seen it versus Rutgers. I've seen it versus a couple of teams. They can't cover tight ends down the field. And that really bodes well for what Michigan does with their tight ends, because their tight ends are like wide receivers. And Steele Chambers, he can get lost in the wash with the run game because he's a little undersized. He's scrappy. He likes to hit, but he's small. So if Zinter or Keegan gets their hands on him, it could be lights out Irene. That running game could be pumping. That might be a Donovan flash up the middle for 40 yards, 50 yards, because the boys can't handle that upfront pressure, especially if we begin to lean on it like we like to do in the third quarter. But I think the Michigan and Ohio State linebackers are even. Junior Colson is a great middle linebacker as far as activity goes. I want him to bring some pop this week. That's what has to happen. I know Mikey Barrett is going to be there for that, and I know that Ernest Hausman, the transfer from Nebraska, he's going to be there for that. But I need Junior Colson, with all the athletic ability in the world, to get under that squat rack and bring that pop. Because I tell you what, man, and this is what I'm going to call in the game. If this dude Henderson gets popped 2 or 3 good times, especially in the lower body, that dude is injury prone, man. It might be a wrap for that running game. And then you're going to see Trainum come in and try to do something in spot work, and it's going to take a lot of wind out of their sails. So, fellas, we need y'all to bring it. Linebackers, we need y'all to bring it. Jimmy Rolder, whoever's in the game, we need y'all to bring it. Now, let's talk about the Michigan D. And one more statement. The defensive secondary from Ohio State. Like I said earlier, Prussia cooker. Roman Wilson is playing 3 times better than he played last year. There's CJ Johnson is in there. He's the Michigan. He's the anvil on Michigan with those deep, double moves and corner and post routes. I hope y'all on y'all technique, man. We coming. And of course, you got Colston Loveland. That put a hurting on y'all last year too. And AJ Barner. You're not gonna know if it's Barner or Loveland or Barner. It's gonna be and then of course you got Samaj Morgan with the Jets. You know what I mean? Playing with all heart. So that secondary better be ready, man. I know, Burke likes to run his mouth, and I know he's probably tired of everybody around him blaming him for last year's game. But essentially, they better bring it. If you're going to talk it, you better bring it. Now, let's talk about Michigan. We talked about their defensive line. We talked about their linebackers, their DBs. Let's go. And we're going to start off with Mikey Sanderstill, the nickelback / corner for the Michigan Wolverines. You could even say he's a / safety / blitzing linebacker. He's going to be all over the field. He is the jackknife on defense. He's the captain. He's Agent Zero. He is the one with the most turnover touchdowns on the season. Almost had another pick for a touchdown last week. 2 interceptions. His coverage helped force 2 safeties. Man. And then, of course, I already told you my prediction about, number 2, Will Johnson locking up Marvin Harrison Jr. That's a lock. He did it last year. Marvin Harrison is going to feel some type of way about it. Play tight, and it may just happen again because, you got height on height, athleticism on athleticism. You know what I'm saying? Marvin Harrison Jr. can't bully Will Johnson up the field. Might catch a ball or 2, but might even catch a touchdown. But will that be enough of a factor to win the game? I don't think so. Once you go in at the half, make second half adjustments, I think Will Johnson, Rob Moore, going to lock that ass up. And Michigan has the number 1 defense in the FBS right now. Newsflash, message, number 1 D in the FBS. Points scored, best third quarter in the nation. That means we haven't given that we gave up the least amount of points in the third quarter. And the matchups intensely favor the Michigan Wolverines. And this is something that most sportscasters have neglected to tell you. I told you I'm going to give you some of the straight business on this show. Michigan has 17 standout players compared to Ohio State's 9. Now, you can even give them 10 if you want to, but 17, and you could possibly give Michigan 18 because I didn't include Samaj Morgan, which I should have because he's been nothing but a baller for the second half of the season, or all season long for that matter. But 17 standout players for Michigan, 9 standout players for Ohio State. And when I bring out that graphic of standout players, what I mean is players who will impact the outcome of the game. Michigan is so damn deep. Michigan is so deep in their roster. They can go 2-3 deep at every position and not miss a beat. Seriously. They could go and all teams, I believe, have all hands on deck except for that Tommy Eichenberg article that just came out by one of the Ohio State writers. Not sure if that's alleged or if it's true or what. Now, if I see that Michigan almost has a 2-1 advantage in standout players that could determine the outcome of the game that aren't just stars, but just players in the game, man, I know who I believe is going to come out victorious. Yes. Yes, sir. The Michigan Wolverines. So that's matchups, man. I think that Michigan, and of course, coaching, I believe, favors Michigan. I think Michigan does a lot more. I think they make better halftime adjustments. That's something I haven't heard a whole bunch of announcers and talking head media say. Michigan makes great second half adjustments, like the one they made at Penn State, like the one they made at Minnesota, like the ones they made at Rutgers and Nebraska. You know what I'm saying? These second half adjustments have allowed Michigan to be the best team in the Big Ten all season long. It's why, the matchup is so intriguing. And I would be remiss. I'm not saying that Ohio State's defense is soft. They have a top 5 D in the FBS. Absolutely, they do. But there's a reason why I'm saying what I'm saying, because even Michigan defensive ends are statistically better than Sawyer and JTT. And you're saying, how could that be? Oh, my God, we love JTT. He's our hero, He can win the game. If he can't do it, no one can. But your boy only got 3 sacks on the year. 4, if I'm counting 3.5. Your boy only got 4 sacks on the year, whereas Jalen Harrell has damn near 6 sacks on the year. I mean, Josiah Stewart has 6 sacks on the year. Jalen Harrell has 4 sacks on the year. Derek Moore has about 4 sacks on the year. Kenneth Grant and Mason Graham are a whole problem on the inside. They crush running backs. They crush quarterbacks. They put pressure. They block balls. They do it all. That's a problem. That's a whole mud-blocking problem for Ohio State. They better have a way to solve that. They better be cutting people off at the knees. They better be doing some ill stuff to stop our pass rush. Because if Kyle McCord is the 110th best quarterback under pressure, it's good night, man. He's going to throw some interceptions. For sure. For sure. So now let's get into weak links, man. Oh, can't wait for it. And this is where, after watching tape on Ohio State, because, if you're a Michigan fan or a college football fan, you've seen what Michigan does, and you've heard all of the, talking media heads say how Michigan is weak here and weak there, and their tackle can't block, and J.J. McCarthy is streaky, and you know what I mean? All of it. You heard all of it all week. You know what I mean? But what you didn't hear is what Ohio State lacks. Where the weak links in their armor. Let's talk about it. So I already talked about Kyle McCord, right? Will he be Kyle Super McCord or Honda McCord? So when things are going good for Ohio State offensively, he's a top 10 quarterback. He's shooting his shot. He's connecting with Marvin Harrison Jr. They're moving Marvin Harrison Jr. all over the formation, and things are looking great. But when he got pressure on him, notably in the Rutgers game, notably in the Penn State game, notably in the Notre Dame game, notably, He thinks to 110th in FBS production. That is crazy. Now, here's something that the Talking Bobbleheads didn't tell you about Ohio State running backs. Because everybody is Batsy riding Travion Henderson. Oh, he's going to come through, and Doak Walker, Barry Sanders, he's going to be the man, right? But he's injury prone. So that means if he get popped on that lower body, good enough. If he get tangled up in a melee, where them legs go every which way, and he's a tall dude, he likes running high. And, you know, defensive linemen and linebackers love running backs that love to run high with their chests out instead of having a low center of gravity. That mama said crack, crack. Mama said crack, crack. That crack is coming. I don't know if it's going to be from Junior Colson. Might be from Ernest Hausman. Ernest Hausman crazy enough to run up in that A gap and bring it, or that C and bring it. Somebody going to bring it. It might be Mikey Sanders still. And as soon as that happens, you know, forbid if it's Kenneth Grant. And Kenneth Grant just lay on him like Sherman Klump. You know what I'm saying? He injury prone. So I wouldn't be surprised in the third quarter, second quarter, that man is holding his foot or his knee or his leg because he just been getting that pop put on him. And everybody know what's on the line, man. You better bring your physical tools because if not, crack city happening. Now, Michigan is not without folly. Michigan is not without error. We need more production out of our second and third wide receivers. That means Tyler Morris. That means Samaj Morgan. That means C.J. Johnson. Big game for you guys. Now, what I think is going to happen is C.J. Johnson is going to get himself in the NFL with this game. He just made himself a third-round pick with his production in the game. What a lot of, now back to the Ohio State side, what a lot of people don't like to tell you is that Ohio State suck. Their wide receivers don't block well in the run game. So as much as they are vaunted for their ability to catch the ball and look fancy doing it, they don't block well, which is why Ohio State's run production suffers. Not even in tight ends. They don't commit for the blocks because that's not the philosophy of the team. They want to lollipop. They want to rainbow that ball up and down the field. That's really what they want to do. But we'll get into some of the crazier parts about during Hot Take. During Hot Take, we're going to get into it about some of the crazy matchups and schemes that we're going to see. And then the big games, man. Against Penn State, I saw drops. Against Notre Dame, I saw drops. Against Rutgers, which is a good defense, I saw dropsies. So what if that dropsies disease shows its ugly head in the cold weather at a Michigan stadium that's going to be going crazy because they're going to be all liquored up before they even get in the building? What happens? Now, let's get to it. Joel Klatt, all these talking bobbleheads, do your homework, man, because I did. I watched Rutgers, Notre Dame, Penn State, Wisconsin, and Indiana. And the center, number 75, number 74, I didn't include number 71 because he comes off the bench, and number 70 are turnstiles. So don't tell me nothing about Colston Barnhart, our right tackle, and his inability to block. These dudes are going to get used. I'm telling you now, they are the chicas in the game. They're the weak sisters. That's what we used to say when we used to be in our breakdown meetings for the next game coming up. Who are the weak sisters? We going after them. Who's playing for our Lady of Mercy? You know what I'm saying? Who's playing for them? 75, 74, and 70, and even 71 in pass protection. And isn't that what Ohio State wants to do? Don't think with that sexy West Coast RPO style, up tempo, quick hitters, motion in this and motion in that. And when Michigan shifts on that front, it's going to be crazy for them dudes. How are they going to block? 75 is a turnstile. You might as well jump over him while you're trying to catch the 2 train. That's how soft he is, man. You know, I can't believe it ain't butter. 74 is a little bit better, but not much. And 70 is slow out of his stances and can be beat off the ball. Josiah Stewart. Time to go to work. Okay? Now, what's going on the defensive line ain't much better. 58, 91, and 51 are the mamitas on that side of the ball, too. They playing for the University of Chimichangas. Why? Because they are taking sides, which you don't want to do as a defensive lineman. And they don't commit to the run game like they should. And they get lost in pass rush. They're too easily to block. And that's the strength of our team. Nugent, Zinter, Keegan, strength of the team. And they just happen to be going up against a weak part or the weakest part of the Ohio State defense. Wow. And then let's talk about linebackers. So if Eichenberg is not going to play, like the article talks about or rumors, and they got Cody Simon in there and Steel Chambers in there most of the time, they're going to get washed out. They're going to get washed out. They better get ready, man. They're going to get washed out. So they better hope that all of this, espionage that they put in play has Michigan feeling some type of way and making mistakes, because I'm seeing a lot of ways to beat this team defensively. Now, that doesn't mean as a unit they don't play well, because they're, top 5 defense. But can they be had with a good offensive line like ours? Absolutely, they can be had. And when you're talking about duo or pen and pull or counter or, any outside reads or quarterback reads, these dudes are going to get washed. And we're going to be running for the races, man. It's going to be up to these secondary, this streaky secondary with, Proctor and Burke and what's the other kid's name? Let me find out the 2 young kids' names on their squad that are Igbinosun, Hancock, and Sonny Styles. Now, Igbinosun is the transfer, so he's never played in a big game like this. Sonny Styles is a redshirt sophomore. He's never played in a game like this, and neither did number 7. What's number 7 named Hancock? He's a sophomore too. He's never. So you got these DBs that doesn't know what it takes to beat Michigan. I think the streakiness continues. And then, of course, the coaches have handicaps. Ryan Day will be under super pressure cooker. And then, of course, Jim Harbaugh has a handicap because he won't be there to coach the team. But, of course, he game planned the team. So hopefully that, gets it all done. But we're going to push on, man. We're going to push on because this part is the X's and O's, the hot take. Oh, yeah, the hot take. So Ohio State, it's, when it really boils down to it, it's going to be about the Michigan defense stopping the better part of Ohio State, which is their offense, right? So Ohio State wants a quick-hitting passing game to keep our rush off balance. They want a West Coast hybrid rhythm-style passing game, right? They feature RPO concepts, which include a stretch run. If the nickelback hangs low, you want to throw it, and if the nickelback drops, then you want to run. So you'll get some RPO in there. Basically featuring off of Mikey Sanders still. So there'll definitely be some games by Minter from Michigan defensive coordinator about how he's going to use and how he's going to throw off that RPO. And of course, they have spot concepts within their passing game, like like hitch corner, running back flat. So in other words, they have a high-low thing going on, and then the running back or Henderson loves to hang in the flat and be a safety valve for Kyle McCord under too much pressure. Hey man, Kyle McCord is going to have to hold his own nuts in this game, and I'm telling you, he is going to have to hold his own nuts in this game. If everybody's going to have to play to their own talent level. He's supposed to be a 5-star dude, so 5-star dude, 5-star dudes do. Ohio State has to win first down, or they're in trouble with that rhythmic game, because the rhythmic game usually doesn't work well in second and long and third long. Second and medium favors Ohio State. Second and long favors Michigan. Third and long favors Michigan. Third and short is a toss-up. But third and long definitely favors Michigan. Michigan is going to excel in this game with pick stunts. So that means like twists and stunts to free up other dudes. We've been doing it all year. And with Harrell's speed, Derek Moore's speed, and Josiah Stewart's speed, they're going to take advantage of the Dancing Bears. That's right, the turnstiles. 75, the center, 74, the guard, and number 70, the tackle, that are way too slow out of their stances and very poor in pass defense. Hey, man, Mikey Sanders still, man. I think Kyle McCord is going to throw away from Mikey Sanders still, but does he go ahead and throw to Will Johnson? So you have to pick your poison, which is why Mikey Sanders still in that cover 3 robber look where they kind of show man, but they're actually playing zone. Mikey's able to get underneath a lot of those throws because of the pressure and because of the fake look, the pro look that it gives, right? The man zone concept. And I just think Michigan is much more dynamic in the secondary with the pro defensive looks that they give on the screen from Jesse Minter that got it from the Baltimore Ravens design, with people like Makari Page, Mikey Sanders still, Moore, Johnson, Quentin Johnson, McBurrows, and Wallace. I think they collectively do a great job of and Keon Sabb. I hope he's gonna play. Keon Sabb is the business, man. I love that dude as a player. You know, he's really a heady kid. You can tell that he's always in the right place at the right time and take advantage of a play. So I hope he plays because we're gonna need him against the Emeka Abukas and all of the other dudes that Ohio State has to offer, the Terrells and the, you know. Let me just run down their wide receiving core real quick. So we got Marvin Harrison Jr., Tate, Fleming, not Terrell, Fleming, and Emeka Abuka. So we're gonna need all of our talented secondary dudes, which is why I'm glad that they got a lot of work this season. Even our backups got a lot of work. Quentin Johnson, McBurrows, Keon Sabb, you know, all them dudes got a tremendous amount of work this year. So they're gonna walk into the game looking real good and feeling real confident. And I'm not sure Ohio State is as deep as that. And nobody's talking about that. That's the X's and O's piece that nobody's talking about. Okay? So step your game up, announcers and media people. Y'all slacking and y'all commentating. We got to have a couple of plays where we get physical with these wide receivers. I call it getting hands on. That's the old school way to say it, right? Make sure you hands on with these wide receivers. Get physical with them. The old adage, the old Bill Parcells beating the Buffalo Bills. What was one of the ways they did it? They were physical with those wide receivers. And by the fourth quarter, them wide receivers didn't want to pick themselves back up off the ground again. You know what I'm saying? They didn't want to make difficult catch anymore. Right? Let's have a physical tech from our defensive backs with hands-on by our defensive backs, especially Will Johnson on Marvin Harrison Jr. And I'm not sure if he's have seen a DB that's going to handle him as physically as Will Johnson will handle him and be able to match speed with speed, size with size. So that's very important. And nobody's really bringing that to bear in their so-called great analysis. Weak ass. Anyway, so here's some of the things that Michigan really has to do if Michigan is going to be successful. They got to communicate, man. The communication last week was poor. And maybe you could blame that on Mikey Barrett. But the communication was poor. And when Maryland lined up in some similar formations that Ohio State will line up in, we got to communicate about what's going on the field. What are we seeing? Because those crossing routes and those tilt routes and those motion routes are all meant to attack the zones in the secondary, the open spaces in the secondary. And of course, if our defensive linemen bat down a couple of balls, that will put some pressure on Kyle McCord to be perfect with his passes, and then interceptions will ensue. Yeah. And one thing that Michigan has to do is be great versus up-tempo. I'm sure Ohio State is going to go up-tempo so that we can't substitute and use our depth. So if they see a matchup that they like, they're going to try to go up-tempo so that they can keep us from making substitutions. But we got to play great regardless. We got to suck it up, buttercup, grab our own nuts, and do the things we got to do to be great, even though they're going up-tempo. Hell, that's what timeouts are for, right? Anyway, so Ohio State, one of the things that is very, very pivotal and key, here's some keys to the game. Ohio State defense versus, Michigan defense versus Ohio State offense, keys to the game. Ohio State likes to line up and cut splits. That's something they're doing this year, okay? And they're reading the coverage when they line up in these cut splits, meaning they're not lining up to the boundaries. Their wide receivers are not doing typical wide receiver 1 or wide receiver 2 type of things. If they're motioning inside and they're cutting their splits, that's going to either be a play across the middle in some sort of drag concept or some sort of dig concept to Abuka or Harrison, or it's going to be them setting up that counter or that power punch play that they like to do where they all like to block down and pop out that tackle for Travion Henderson to run. So we got to be communicating versus up-tempo, communicating versus split cuts, especially if Stover splits his cut as a tight end and becomes the number 1. And now Harrison or Abuka is number 2. Because when they do those sorts of things, not only do they like to do drags, but they also like to kick the inside or the boundary slot receiver and do lots of jet sweeps off of it. So they like to set up the power to the outside, the zone to the outside, power to the opposite side to the field. And then off of that, they like to do jet sweep to the field. You know what I mean? So they have a number of plays that they like to do off of that split cut concept. So to me, that's the ball game. Now, I'm not sure what the Urban Meyer game plan of it all is going to do. And he's been watching Michigan and talking hella crap all year about Michigan and what they do and what they can't do. And if he had something to do with this year's game plan, they may have a surprise or two. They may have a trick play or two. They may have, a way or two to get at it. Maybe they're just going to go over the top more often than not just to test the Michigan secondary. You know what I mean? If they're at the 50 or the 40, they may just throw it deep and just see if they can get those 50-50 balls, if they can win those 50-50 balls. So that will behoove our rush to get there. I think we should just have a blitz-based philosophy, period. I think we should run blitz and pass blitz. And at times, just send 4 because we know when Baby Hulk, Kenneth Grant gets going, and when Thanos, Mason Graham gets going, can't nobody in the country block them dudes. So we're going to push the pocket. We're gonna push the pocket in Honda McCord's face. And lastly, our offense, JJ McCarthy will connect the dots. He's gonna run and he's gonna connect the dots with the flame throws and the crucial throws. The thing that I'm interested to see is who is gonna win the rushing battle. Because over the last 21 games, the team to win the rushing battle wins the game. Why? Because you can control the clock. Now, based on the style of both teams, Ohio State likes to throw to run, and Michigan likes to run to throw. And what eats up more clock is when you control the line of scrimmage, LOS. You got to control the line of scrimmage versus controlling the passing game. And why is that more important? If guys don't know, if folks don't know at home, that's tremendously more important, because if the game is on the line and you can control the way the field flips, because you're controlling how you use the clock, right? In a snowy, cold Michigan Stadium with the fans going crazy, and against the best defense in football, when you had a couple of 3-and-outs, I would think that you need to control the tempo, and how you control the tempo is with a great running game. And you got 3 really good running backs on your team: Blake the Great, Don the Striker, and then you got Khalil Mullins that likes to just play bully ball. And I think between the 3 of those guys, and if Benjamin Hall gets a appearance, that boy got anger in his shoes. So I think I like our 4 running backs and what they provide. They provide a lot of fire, and if you give them a crack, they're going. So we got to stop their rhythm offense. We face teams like Purdue that had a rhythm that likes to do the RPO concepts. And also, like, who was that team that just threw the ball fast on us? It was, I believe it was Minnesota. So we faced teams that do this before. Now, we haven't faced teams that have the talent of this team, but we face teams that have that RPO concept, that likes that West Coast swing pass. Even Penn State does this to a degree. That's West Coast swing pass, slant, motion, spot concept type of football. Find the zones and sit. We've seen this before and we've dealt with it. So hopefully Maryland, who does a lot of the very same concepts, hopefully that was a good warm-up for us. Hopefully that was a good scale for us. And we're able to dominate not only in the second quarter, but in the second half, because we've seen these concepts hit our face before, and hit our eyes before. And like I said before, them Ohio State receivers put the ball on the ground, man. They do. If they're matched up well, and they matched up with DBs that are going to play them stride for stride and be competitive with them boys put them balls on the floor. I've seen it. I've seen it in a bunch of games. And that's the reason why Ohio State just didn't explode and beat these teams that they struggle with all year long. So, man, so that's my hot take, man. And eventually the outcome, I got Michigan by 2 scores. Now, that doesn't mean if the running game doesn't get going, it might not be Michigan by 3 scores. Now, that's if things are going great in the second half. If things are going so-so, I got Michigan by 2 scores. If things are going up and down and it becomes like a flip field game, field position game, I got Michigan by 2 scores. Michigan is going to win this game. Michigan, their defensive line is just too much for Ohio State's offensive line. We're too deep. We got too much tempo. We got too much disruptive folks on that defensive line and those linebackers and that, Jesse Minter scheme. And don't think that Jesse Minter wasn't showing some things or holding some things back that he got cooking, especially for this game. Yeah, man. So I want you guys to timestamp what you think about this analysis, because it shows a lot more than what the average talking bobblehead in these media streets, these sports media streets, is going to offer. Even these podcasts, yo. Stop boxy riding and analyze the X's and O's a little bit more, man. Because if I can see it, and I'm not even an Ohio State watcher, I know you can see it. I know you can see it. And Ohio State just has not faced a defensive front seven like ours. They just haven't. Not with the depth and not with the dynamics that we offer. But it's rivalry week all over. And keep the hotline ready, man, because Ohio State fans are going to need it. If last year was any indication, it's going to be a lot of slow singing and flower bringing when Michigan starts ringing and going crack, crack. All right, man, let's get into rivalry week. So there's more rivalries than just Michigan, Ohio State. You got Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Oregon State, of course, the game, Michigan, Ohio State, Kentucky, Louisville, Texas A&M and LSU, Bama and Auburn, Arizona State, Vi and Vi Tech, Washington State and Washington, Kentucky and Louisville, Florida State and Florida, Georgia and Georgia Tech, Clemson and South Carolina, Carolina and NC State. Those are the games that are available to you. Tomorrow should be a full slate of crazy college football. Michigan will win. We will win convincingly. By the end of the third quarter, you're going to be like, dag, I never thought Michigan would win like this. Even fourth quarter, maybe early fourth. But they will do it. And you'll hear a whole lot about JTT and Jack Sawyer, but they're overrated. Just check their stats. They're not better than Michigan stats. So why aren't the media heads talking about that? Michigan got better defensive line stats than the Ohio State defensive line. And they got a lot of boogers in the middle, man. A lot of dancing bears on both the offensive and defensive line. A lot of sisters, Our Lady of Mercies, man. A lot of weak sisters, a lot of weak links playing. And if Eichenberg is in there, man, that might be run steady for us, for the Michigan Wolverines. Hey, that's going to do it for the preview show of the game. The Michigan Wolverines against the Ohio State Buckeyes. I think it's going to be a great game tomorrow. I think Ohio State will throw the kitchen sink at us first quarter to get a lead early. That's kind of their style. If not, I think second half and third quarter will feature a lot of Travion Henderson while they try to set things up. And the war of attrition, Michigan offensive line leaning on them, Michigan's defensive line leaning on them, will ultimately be how this thing gets decided. So for everybody at the Big House Breakdown, and of course, all the recruits are going to be there. And all the recruits are going to see Michigan turn into the big blue bully. And I love it. I'm here for it. So everybody here from the Big House Breakdown to all you and yours, I hope y'all are having a happy and a healthy. And I hope that you guys tune in tomorrow. Timestamp, especially the weak link segment, because I'm coming back with the I told you so reaction show after it's all over. Because, you just can't change who you are. You are who you are. You're not going to be who you're not in the last game of the season, because Ryan Day helped you with some game plan. Allegedly. All right, y'all. This is the Big House Breakdown. My name is DeVic. Thank you guys for watching and participating. Everybody out there in social media land. Look out for all the great shows on the Real HD TV network coming to you in the new year. I'm going to say peace, walk with power, and as always, go blue, stomp them Buckeyes. We out.